Welcome students. We have already completed our module 5, which is comprising of the forensic science, which are mainly dealing with the different molecular markers required for solving different type of crimes. Okay, now as we have completed our forensic science portion, that is module 5, we will be moving on to our last module, which is left for completion, that is bioethics. This is the first module, and this module mainly deals with the different aspects of bioethics, and it will talk about how bioethics are controlled, how social and your different type of ethical issues are governed in biotechnology, how biotechnology is dependent on ethical ethics and mainly the bioethics. Okay. Now, before moving on to the detailing of the bioethics chapter, we first of all try to understand what who we mean by the term bioethics. Okay, the bioethics, by definition, it is the study of the ethical and moral implications of new biological discoveries and biomedical advances, as in the field of genetic engineering and drug research. That means this branch of science mainly deals with the implications of new biological discoveries. Okay, and biomedical advances. This Bioethical issues mainly were governed in the domains of genetic engineering and drug research. Okay. Now, another definition is study of the ethical and moral implication of medical research and practice. Mainly, by bioethics, we mainly want to mainly mean the ethical issues oriented around medical sciences. And as you are the student of Bachelor of Optometry and Bachelor of Physician Assistant, so you people are very much connected with the medical world. So, in my lecture, I will be mainly dealing with the different aspects of bioethics in connection with the medical issues. Okay, now moving on to the principles. First of all, this is the terminology of bioethics. What do we mean by bioethics? This is mainly the definition, and then we will move on to the four principles. There's basically bioethics consists of four principles. Okay, the first principle is your autonomy. Second is beneficence. Third is non-maleficence, and fourth is justice. First is autonomy. That means the right of the individual to make decision regarding their own health must be respected. That means the first and foremost principle of bioethics is that you have to respect the decision regarding their own health and own health. Suppose you are suffering from some disease, you have the right to say what treatment you should be given. That is your autonomy rights. Okay, being a patient, individual has the right to make their own decision regarding their health. Okay, now the second is beneficence. We'll be moving in detail to each of the categories. First of all, we're giving an idea. Now, second principle is the beneficence. Healthcare provides must strive to benefit the patients. That means your objective should be always to benefit the patients. Okay. Now, third is non-beneficence. That means healthcare provider must not harm the patient. That means when the different healthcare providers are working, they must never on their own should, I mean with their own senses they can harm the patient. Okay, this is a very important point. And justice, patient should share equally in the cost and benefit of the healthcare system. That means every patient has rights to get the special treatment which is assigned to them when they are paying the money. That means depending upon the type of healthcare they have opted, they has the rights to every arrangements made. Okay. So first of all, moving on to the first one, that is patient autonomy, that means self-governance. Treating a patient according to the patient's desire within the bounds of the accepted treatment. That means you have to give importance to the patient's desire. Okay. Now, involving patients in treatment decisions, that means you have to involve the patients in their treatment decisions. Okay. That means suppose you are going for some operations or some OT or some any kind of analysis, you have to take the consent of the patient. If the patient is not in the form of giving consent, then their family members are asked to do so. Okay, considering the patient needs, desire, and abilities, that means what the patient can undergo. Safeguarding patient's privacy, that means you cannot open up the disease details of any patient in to another patient. So the privacy must be maintained. Now the second is non-maleficence, that means do no harm. That means a healthcare provider cannot harm a patient. To protect the patient from harm, keep knowledge and skill current, knowing to one's own limitation, when to refer to other specialists. Know when delegation of the patient care assistance training is appropriate. That means you have no right in your consent to harm any patient. This is the point, non-maleficence. The second is beneficence, that is the opposite of maleficence, that is good, doing something good. Primary obligation of service to the patient and public at large due to the promote the patient's welfare, competent and timely delivery of health care. Okay, and obliged to become familiar with the signs of abuse, neglect, and to report suspected cases. Okay, that means you have to do some good, you have to do some welfare work to the patients. Okay, justice and fairness, that means to do the duty to be fair in their dealings with patients, that means delivering healthcare without prejudice, that means shall not deny service to patient because of patient's race, creed, color, sex, or nationality. That means you cannot deny a patient of their treatment due to some racism, due to some color, due to some nationality changes. So, and that some suppose you are not giving treatment to the HIV, HPV, and HCV patients. That means who are easily transmissible diseases. So you are destined to give them the equal importance as you are giving to the normal patient. This is about the justice, that is fairness. You cannot be biased towards some patients, and you cannot deprive any patient of their own importance. Okay. Now, the next thing we will be, this is all about the principles of bioethics. Next thing we will be dealing is the issues of issues of bioethical bioethics. That means we have to read about some bioethical issues in biotechnology. Okay. Now, the main, there are many issues basically, but I have selected 5 issues for your discussion. Okay. Now, the 5 issues are abortion, euthanasia, eugenics, human cloning, and stem cell research. Okay. The first one is the abortion. Okay. Abortion, by abortion, what we mean? Abortion is mainly, first of all, you need to know about the definition of abortion. Abortion is a removal of the fetus from the embryo or the embryo from the women's uterus, resulting in termination of pregnancy. Suppose if an unwanted pregnancy comes, then to terminate that pregnancy, you need to remove the embryo from the woman's body. So this process of removal is known as abortion. Okay? The controversy over abortion is actually greater debate over when truly life begins. Okay, what happens as life has already begun in the form of the embryo? So this abortion issue is a very debatable issue. Okay, pro-choice bioethics place emphasis on the ability of women to have power over their own body, while anti-choice supporters believe life begins at conception. As the public and political debates over abortion are overwhelmed by religious belief, pro-life bioethics are generally secular in their reason and merely view as fetus as human life. Okay, so there are two types of bioethics. Bioethics means the person who follows bioethics. Okay, bioethicist. Now, pro-choice and anti-choice. That is, pro-choice bioethics says that a woman has the power to remove the unwanted embryo from their body. But another group of bioethics, that is anti-choice, they say that no, life begins when you are conceiving. That so you cannot destroy a life. So these are two issues contradictory about themselves. Okay. Now, what happens? Another set of bioethists who are pro-life bioethists, what they say that they follow some prejudice, and by their prejudice only, they try to control the issues of abortion. Okay. Now, students, in the next class, we will be discussing about the other issues of bioethics. Till then, thank you, students.